Hey everybody, KMO here, and the gist, the meat, the pith, the substance of this video is a recommendation. I recommend that you watch this video by Nikola Danilov, otherwise known as Socrates. Nikola is somebody that I first interviewed, I would guess 2010, somewhere in there, so about a decade ago. And he was, at the time, just a full-on, uncomplicated techno-utopian. You know, just repeating the Ray Kurzweil line about exponential growth, AI, robotics, nanotechnology, blah, blah, blah. You know, the streets will be paved with gold and they'll run with milk and honey and everybody will have it all, you know, anything they want, and it's just going to be groovy. Well, when he was in that headspace, I mean, I've been in that headspace, but it's been much longer than 10 years since I was there. But when Nikola was in that headspace, I was in the full-on peak oil doom headspace. So I live in a glass house. My stones are all wrapped in bubble wrap. But I'm happy to say that over the past few years, I've noticed that Nikola has started to notice the tarnished spots on the shiny Singularity project. And I think a lot of it came from his interaction with Singularity University, which is, as far as I know, not an accredited university. It's just really the name of a business that coaxes technophilic rich kids into coming out to their campus and spending enormous amounts of money to hang out with the big names in the Singularity biz. And I won't steal too much of Nick's thunder, but part of what he's been saying about Singularity University, and what he's saying about, you know, the tech-centric culture in general these days, is that they talk a good game about abundance and, you know, sharing the material abundance broadly, but all of their actions speak to the exact reverse. Where they can, they make things artificially scarce to drive up the price so they can get people to pay big money for talk of an abundant future where people don't have to shell out big money. So it's like an 18-minute talk. Think of it as a TED Talk. It's really good. And I have to say, Nikola has been podcasting, like when he started podcasting, I'd been doing it so long at that point that I thought of him as a newcomer. But he's been doing it for a very long time now. But unlike me, Nikola doesn't just do the podcasts. You know, he has a very nice website. He has very good equipment and good production values. And every time he puts up a new podcast, he sends out a newsletter to tell people about it. Whereas everything I do in podcasting or video work, or even to some extent, I mean, it's a little different with the comic, and I'll say a little bit about that in a minute. But I tend to, maybe some people think I'm going for, you know, an authentic aesthetic, but no, I learned the bare minimum that I need to do to create the product, and then I just focus on creating the product. And the bells and the whistles often get left in the, you know, in the box. They do not get attached. With the comic strip, I'm the artist and the writer, but I also have, you know, I'm part of a team. Somebody else maintains the website. Somebody else posts to social media. Somebody else is taking care of the, you know, the interactions with the printer, because we're getting ready to print an issue rather than just have it be online. And and best of all, I get paid, you know. I make money from the podcast, but I get paid to do the comic, and there's a difference. And getting paid is definitely the easier route. And it's nice to be part of a team. But for so long and very early on, you know, I thought of myself like when I was a kid. I wanted to be an artist, and this was, you know, this was like nails on a chalkboard to my father's ears. He wanted me to, my father told me, he's dead now, God rest his soul. He told me when we were talking about college, get a degree, not an education. Which is the exact opposite of my whole ethos, but it was right on with his whole ethos. It's hard to believe he was Irish. Anyway, I'm part of a team with the comic, but since I was a kid, I thought I was going to be an artist, and to me, the life of an artist or a writer was somebody who sits at home alone all day working on their stuff. And I guess that notion or that image really sunk in deep early on, because as soon as I could, very early on, even before the Amazon money, whenever I had any little surplus, that's what I would do. I would spend time alone. The difference is, when I was younger, I would spend time alone working. Now I spend time alone wasting time. And I didn't think to wish to be part of a team. I won't say I didn't wish for it until it was too late, because I'm still alive. It's not too late. I am part of a team now, although really creatively I'm still pretty much flying solo. I take some instruction, but there's not much collaboration going on. But back to Nikola Danilov and techno-utopianism or techno-solutionism. You know, when I was in my technophilic stage and thinking that the future was looking bright because of technology, this is in the mid-90s, even into the late 90s. Really even into the first couple of years of the 21st century. It wasn't until my stock option windfall was gone and I had to get back into work with a big hole in my resume, and was living in a place where there wasn't a lot of commerce taking place, and so I really struggled. You know, first I was selling cell phones, and then I got into insurance. So happy to be through that. And that's when my technophilia really turned sour, and I embraced the sort of nihilistic peak oil, you know, techno collapse narrative. And I guess it only took me 20 years or so to figure out that I was choosing what I thought the future looked like based on how I was feeling about the present. Now I can be grumpy about the present and yet remain agnostic about the future. But when I was really a technophile, it never occurred to me that we could have robots and systemic, you know, widespread implementation of automation and artificial intelligence such that people didn't really have to work, and yet people would be denied the means that they need, you know, for food, shelter, clothing, and transportation, entertainment, socialization. They would be denied the basics of life if they could not demonstrate that they were spending their days in toil, in service to somebody else's project, typically some rich, I don't want to even say rich person's project, because most corporations don't belong to a person. They belong to a class of people called investors, which is to say people who make money by having money. They get money from investing money rather than trading the hours of their life. And it never occurred to me in my 20s and early 30s, when I was all, you know, just optimistic about the techno future, that we would enter into such a future and people would still be throwing around this bullshit morality garbage about if you are not toiling, if you're not wasting your whole life in service to somebody else's project, you don't get to eat. That is vile. That is fucking vile. And it just never occurred to me that attitude would live, you know, and propagate itself into the period of abundance, or what could be widely shared abundance. But here's the thing, and you know, the people who are talking about technological abundance will insist that we're not there yet. We're definitely not there yet. Remember I had Callum Chase on, I guess late last summer, and he had written a book on, you know, the coming, you know, what did he call it? The economic singularity. And he's all about abundance, you know, from technology. But he doesn't want to give people $1,000 a month. Not yet. Too early for that, you know, for the technophiles. So here is what I failed to grapple with in my technophilic youth. You don't flip a switch. You don't go from humans are working and creating and, you know, the basic means of production to all of a sudden humans are free and they can go play. No. It doesn't work that way. There is a long, slow, painful transition where some tasks can be automated and others can't, and almost no job can be automated because the job is a collection of tasks, and not all of the tasks will be automatable, but you know, you can offload some of the tasks in a job to your customers and then fire the employee, you know, who does the things that can't be automated. Or you can structure your work environment so that automation can allow just a few employees to match the productivity of a great many employees. But there's just not a day when, yesterday people had to work and today the robots are here to do the work. There's a long, painful transition where some people, the people with good jobs and lots of money, get a buzz. They get a neurological tingle and maybe a stiffy by telling other people that they deserve austerity because they haven't made the right choices and they haven't worked as hard as the people who have the stuff. And boy, does it feel good to talk down to the lazy people who made the bad decisions in their youth when you're sitting there with all the privileges, all the rank, and all the stuff. Golly, doesn't it feel good? And it doesn't matter if the labor of the people whose misery you are making excuses for, it doesn't matter if their labor isn't necessary. It feels so good to tell them that they fucked up and that they don't get to live like you live because they didn't make the good choices that you made. You can't beat that feeling. There is no drug that delivers a high quite like the self-importance that delivering that message, in full sincerity gives you. And I'm just jealous because I don't get to talk to anybody that way. Except, the junkies. And I don't want to talk to them. I know they're human beings. They have inalienable rights and inherent worth. I don't want to interact with them. Okay. On that self-condemnatory note, I bid you good evening, and I will talk to you again tomorrow.